College Ausa welcomes all the dignitaries and participants on this virtual platform for the national webinar on the topic Socrates in 21st Century, a Digital Transformation. The college has been running a long series of national and international webinars. The purpose behind arranging this webinar series is to exchange knowledge, to spread knowledge, and to enrich. And because of this webinar series, lot of students, researchers, teachers are benefited, and the webinar series is going on very successfully and smoothly because of the innovative management of the chief organizer and chairperson of this webinar series, Honorable Principal Dr. M. Bedkar sir. At the outset of this webinar, I welcome him as the chairperson of this webinar. I am very pleased to welcome today's invited speaker and resource person, Honorable Chetna Sabharwal ma'am from New Delhi, who is going to enlighten us on the topic Socrates in 21st Century, a Digital Transformation. I also welcome all honorable organizing committee members, including Vice Principal SD Misal sir, Dr. Patwari sir, Ambadas Khillare sir, and Dr. Wadkar sir. We are eagerly waiting for the keynote speech to be started by the honorable speaker.
With the aim of women empowerment, women dignity, and for spreading and sharing the knowledge among intellectual peoples. This series is going on very systematically and successfully because of the efficient and very hard-working personality, Honorable Principal and Chief Organizer, Dr. Bedkar MM. First of all, I would like to thank respected Principal for giving me an opportunity to introduce a resource person on this virtual platform. My special thanks goes to all the respected organizing committee members, IQSC coordinator, and staff members. Those are supporting like backbone of this series. And a big thanks to all the respected participants. Those are joining daily, very punctually from all over India and abroad, making this series a very successful series. So it's my pleasure. I am here to introduce today's resource person. Today's resource person is Honorable Chetna Sabharwal ma'am. Presently, she is a director at SkillsReform at Association of Indian Principals, New Delhi. Title of speech is Socrates in 21st Century, a Digital Transformation. Her qualification is MA in Educational Management, BSc in Mathematics, MSc in Psychology from Karnataka State Open University. She completed International Diploma in Guidance and Counseling, that is IDGC, Career Counseling, Personal and Social Counseling, Psychometric Testing. She is working from 25 years at the career of Education, Psychology, Mathematics, and Career Guidance. As an established author for mathematics and psychology, she has trained 5,000 teachers on curriculum development, basic counseling skills, and becoming edupreneur. She achieved a number of awards like 111 Power Women Award, Under 50 Business Leader Award, Jeevan Kaushal Ratna Award for her excellence in counseling services at national level. Her overseas travel for educational assignments to countries like Australia, USA, Canada, Singapore, and New Zealand.
Hats off to your efforts and enthusiasm to be here again and again to attend these webinars. Though we are tired of webinars, but I'm thankful to each one of you for being here, and I hope today what we are going to talk about is Socrates in 21st century. So as all of you know that Socrates he was a philosopher in somewhere in 400 BC, and his way of questioning, his way of inquiry has been used in teaching methodology for a very, very long time. And I'm not sure that how many of you are dealing with which kind of students or youth, but I feel that whatever I'm going to speak today, it will be a takeaway for all of you that how you can use it in your classroom, even in your corporate world also, if you're working in the organization, if you're working as an administrator. So the art of questioning is something, and what would happen if he is in the digital transformation. So the idea is bringing Socrates to the digital classroom. So that is what I'm going to speak about. And just give me a moment to present it. I'll just take few minutes. So something just can you see the screen? Yeah, is the screen visible or not?
Just now visible.
Yeah. Yes. So this is what I think now it is visible to each one of you. If you could just say yes or. Yeah, so Socrates in 21st century, a digital transformation, that is what I'm going to speak about a bit on this. And as I mentioned to all of you that how he has been able to use this particular field, I mean the Socrates in his own way has been able to bring into the classroom the inquiry platform. So that is what we'll talk about. There's something stuck up here. Yes. So what's in store for you in the next 40 minutes? I'll take only 40 minutes and then maybe we'll have the question answer if the time allows. So tech and learning, which is the education folk cover here, is teaching and learning before and after technology. Though it has been spoken about a lot, but it's just kind of a precursor to why we have to do this, that what are the changes which have happened, and still Socrates will be relevant to this particular situation. Then virtual classroom adoption in the world, how the world has changed for all of us. The role of Socrates, inquiry in learning, of course, that is the topic which we are going to have a deliberation on, and benefits of interactive technology. Because what has happened over the years, or for the last 2 years, is that we have been using Zoom, or we have been using any platform for that matter. What has happened to the students or the attendees on the other side, they have been muted. And just to maintain the classroom, just to maintain the discipline, just to maintain that the decorum has to be there, we have done that time and again, which I feel somewhere we are stopping them from learning. And that is why I would like to bring this on your platter. Now, teaching and learning before technology. So what happened before technology, when the technology was not there? We were using the smart classes for sure. We were having the online curriculum, which could be transacted in the classroom through the videos or through the digital classrooms which were there. But after that, what happened was different thing. So learning was strictly through individual based courses, depending on what you have to teach. So the lesson plans were there. So, and everything has to be transacted in a kind of a timetabling manner. Now, teacher-centered approach. Whatever have been said and done from last 70 years, that it is a student-led approach, no, it was always a teacher-centered approach. She would decide or he would decide in the classroom what has to be taught. And of course, some of the classrooms were very interactive. For sure, they were ways of using, because you could see and they could use multi-sensory approach in the classrooms when they were in physical classrooms. Then single mode of instructions, yes, chalk and talk is still there in most of the schools around us, but then during these 2 years, I think a lot has been changed, and that is what the technology has brought us into. Now, teaching and learning with technology. I'm not saying beyond technology or after technology, it's with technology. Collaborative learning is now possible. So when you leave the onus on the students or on the person who is attending your classes, the collaboration happens. Give them some homework, give them some tasks to achieve, and that is what will happen. So student-centered approach more. You have to see that every student in your classroom is giving attention to the classrooms, and differentiated instructions could be possible with this intervention of technology for sure. So you could actually cater to different type of learners. There could be kinesthetic learners, there could be visual learners, there could be reading and writing learners, there could be kinesthetic also, and the visual ones also. So there could be different way of learning for everybody. And that's the research which says, just to emphasize on what I'm saying here, there's a research being done on the student January 2022. Virtual classroom adoption in all over the world has been our level. The digital transformation would have taken at a very different pace, or maybe the level of learning. So some classrooms have the augmented reality, some classes maybe having just a tab or the mobile device where the internet connection is there, and teachers are still teaching using the videos, and maybe their own interaction is happening. And now I come to the Socrates method of inquiry. I'll be just walking you through the art of questioning, that what kind of questions, because before I do that, we have to understand that when we ask questions to anyone, nobody likes that until and unless you're asking the right question, and the way of asking questions is empathetic. Not that you have the authority as an instructor or as a boss or as a leader. So that is what we have to take care when we are using this method of inquiry. The idea is to lead to a situation where the students start using their own thinking, metacognition. They start thinking and deciphering the answers for it. That is what happens in the Socrates method of inquiry. And you would see, and if I could take one example of the current situation, which is the Russia and Ukraine war, which is happening. If you want to really bring this in the classroom, let them research about it, and this must be done. This must be done in every classroom, I say, irrespective of whatever subject you are teaching, it doesn't matter. But we should bring that into the classroom for two reasons. One, the youth needs to get the right information and to analyze the information. News reporting, earlier it used to be kind of a fact-based information that this is what has happened, and we used to analyze, but now we are getting the opinions of people around us, which is dangerous. So, and that is why when the students are and the youth is getting misled also sometimes. So that's where our role as educator comes into play, that we should make sure that whatever discussions are happening, they should know that when they are deciding something, they should challenge their beliefs, they should challenge their pre-assumptions, and I'll walk you through that the next few slides. But before that, we need to understand one thing, that all of us are the digital immigrants. If we are coming from the generation of 70s, 80s, and even for that matter, 90s also up to some extent. And after that, those are the digital natives. And this gap has to be understood very carefully. Now, digital immigrants are the adopters of the web technology. You would have used newspapers, you would have used the pagers, and now we are using a MacBook or a laptop with a Zoom or Google Meet connection. So that is the transformation which has happened for us, and so we are the immigrants. Now, prefer to talk in person. Given a chance, we all would love to talk in person. Still, Zoom doesn't work for us much. Then we are all logical learners. When I say logical learners, it means that for us it has to be a very one step at a time thing. Whereas if you will see the digital natives, they are very different learners. They are always distracted and they will handle multiple things, and I'll come back to that. Now, focusing on one task at a time, that is what we do. So if I'm presenting right now, so my focus is all on this. I would not be checking my WhatsApp, or I would not be checking anything else, or maybe taking care of any other thing. Prefer to have interaction with one of few people rather than many. So whatever discussions were happening in the classroom, in the conference room, with a group of people, within the community, within the society, or maybe in the dining rooms, have now been on all social media. And that is where the challenge is. What is true, what is not true? And that's where I feel Socrates can give us the right path if we utilize it in a right manner. Now, get info from traditional news sites. We still believe that, okay, there were some credible resources from where we'll get the information. So this was not Google, this was not Bing engine, it was these books in the library with some credibility to attach to them. And so if I will be quoting anything, so I have the reference from a book which has been written with a lot of credibility in its own way. And that is what digital immigrants still do. And you would also prefer that rather than going on Google search for any information. But yes, that is the transformation which has taken place, so we have to adapt to that. Now, digital natives are the one who we are teaching, who we are interacting with, who we are employing. So what is the difference between the two? And that's where we have to understand that what is their thinking exactly, what is their way of approaching to a subject. It could be anything, which could be a negotiation, which could be a conflict which they want to handle, which could be a project. So they think in a very different manner because they are the digital natives. Born during or after the digital age? Definitely. So they are born with the mobiles in their hands, and if you would see any place, the parents are also giving them mobile, okay, that because I have to do some work, so you use this and do whatever you want to do without any locks being used in that, or without being restrained for the different websites they can visit. Always on attached to a phone or other device. This is what I receive a lot of complaints, and you would have also received from so many. As a parent, you would have faced this situation that they are always attached to the phone. So even under the pillow also they have to keep the phone. It's like something which they are too much attached, that okay, something will happen if I don't have a mobile in my hand. Then intuitive learners. Why we call them intuitive learners? Because in spite of the distractions which are happening around, in spite of the so much of conundrum which is happening around us, they are still able to focus and score their marks. If you would see, yes, they have mental health issues. Yes, they have certain concerns because they are not able to switch over from online to offline. That is the age, that is the development which is being delayed for them, which is a learning loss which has happened to them. But then they are still intuitive learners, and they are still trying to grasp what is being taught to them, or what are they supposed to learn. Now, multitask and rapidly task switching, it's an art. We in our time, or I think all of us would relate to this, that we would be happy to do one work, one task at a time, but they can easily switch from one task from Instagram to the studies with most of the youth, because they are quite agile and adaptable to this. And extremely social. Everything has to be posted on social media, except I feel studies maybe, but yes. And multimedia oriented. So they enjoy the various forms of multimedia which are happening around them. So they love to watch, they love to learn, they want to adapt, they want to enjoy everything through the various options which are available in digital. And that's why it is important for us to understand their psyche. We have to bridge this gap from digital immigrants to digital natives. So we have to some way become the digital natives. Now, how should we do that? Now, this is what Socrates is all about. So it creates, what are the benefits if I'm using it? It creates an active classroom, because every person can speak in the classroom with their own thoughts, and that is where we have to bring them to the level of understanding that if you are asking a question, it's not wrong. You should be comfortable. So that comfort level has to be brought in the classroom. So maybe what you can do in the classroom, in whatever subject we will be teaching to them, we would give them a pre-reading task, which I prefer to give, so that they can make their own understanding, they can do their own research. Then it ignites student thinking. So if suppose I'm teaching algebra in the classroom, or maybe I'm teaching the cognitive behavioral therapy in psychology, so I would not give them the definition of it in the classroom. But before that, I'll be giving them, okay, there are a few questions. This is what is given to you. And you have a book, you can read through it, and then tomorrow we'll have a discussion about it. Now, that discussion has to be the way of the questioning, so that I'll cover in the later slides. Now, it can deepen student understanding, because then they will start listening, they will start researching, they will also start reading more stuff about it. So we have to pose the concept in such a manner that they get curious about it. So that's what inquiry-based learning is, that their inquiry has to start at their own motivation level. Now, it encourages analysis for sure. So if I'm giving two set of data to them, so they will start comparing that, okay, and somebody else in the classroom would have brought some other information. That's where their agreement or disagreement will start. So a lot of analysis will happen. Then it encourages evaluation. So evaluation will automatically happen. You would see that you would not need any assessment for that matter, because you would see that the student, and you can just have a list on 5 parameters where it could be analytical skills, critical skills, problem solving skills, communication, and the questions, what they are. So these 5 things, you can immediately put them on the scale of 1 to 5, and you would come to know that the students are learning or not. And this I'm saying for all the subjects, not only the mathematics and psychology, which I have taught, but for every possible subjects in science where you have the inquiry-based learning, social science also, which could be project-based learning. So this art of questioning can be integrated with any sort of the subject and any sort of the concept also. It helps to challenge misconceptions. Very important for us as educators to make sure that whatever learnings are happening, their beliefs are challenged. And this I can relate so well to the psychology, this domain, because most of the issues or the concern, if you would go back to your own upbringing or the childhood experiences, you have a set of belief because of your experiences. And that's where we have to, if suppose somebody has to move from their comfort zone, so we have to challenge their misconceptions and beliefs. So if you say today that I can't do it, so you are putting a question mark on your own self in growth, in terms of growth. And that's where you're stopping yourself from going from success, from realizing your potential. So inspire students to take interest in learning. When we quote our own examples, so yes, you inspire them. Use your stories, different stories which can be used. So that also inspires them to know about it. They can have more interest in learning. Then encourages students to participate. So some of the students may not be able to question or may not be able to frame question correctly, but they will still be able to use some kind of visual. So if you will tell them that, okay, you have to bring some research. So the visual learners may bring some kind of photographs in the classroom or maybe some kind of a presentation. And that is where we have to make sure that we are catering to the differentiated learning very well using this particular method. That allow them to use as many senses as possible to bring into the classroom and whatever kind of expertise they have. So some of the students can actually beautifully speak in the classroom. Some of them can write well. Some of them can actually draw well. So we should allow these kind of amalgamations in the classroom to happen. So they can present actually the project when it's suppose you have some concept you have taught and you tell them to visualize it on as a mind map. So these students who are very good at drawing can do that easily. Then it develops curiosity, definitely. It's an effortless way of developing curiosity. So if there are students who are shy, if there are students who do not speak in the classroom, they will learn, they will go back, they'll research, and they'll come back with certain questions or some kind of an information which could be used in the classroom. So if they don't speak, it's fine. But if they are giving you in written, then it's also, you should accept that. Then it improves critical thinking. You will see that when we are asking the questions in a right manner and the type of question we ask. So we do not question them why, the reasoning that will happen slowly, but it will not be you are trying to challenge them in the classroom in a very different manner. So if this is the first thing, if suppose I have to clarify certain concept in the classroom, it could be in any subject.
With the screenshot letter.
Yeah. I'll be sharing the presentation with you. Don't worry if that can be sent to all of you, so don't worry about it. So clarifying concepts. Now, if I have to clarify certain concept, let's say if you want to give some example of maybe geometry, okay, and so what exactly does this mean? That is what we can ask. Like whatever concept we are teaching, so first question should be, what exactly does this mean? This will bring to you the multiple definitions. And then we have to see that, and then at the end of the lesson you give that this is the accepted definition of this particular. So imagine the words, the probability of permutation and combinations which is happening in the class, and the students are thinking, because we are not restricting them that okay, this is the definition which you have to ratify or cram, and then you have to pour it out in your examination. I'm making my classroom a very thinking classroom where we are doing critical thinking and problem solving and communication also. Then how does this relate to what we have been talking about? So I'm bringing the previous information, the previous knowledge of maybe the previous class or previous chapter or previous discussion into the classroom again. That can anybody help me? That how does relate to what we have been talking about? So yes, if I have done something in the classroom like in algebra, I can utilize it that okay, yes, it can be a complicated concept, and then it can be further used in different domains of real life. Then can you give me an example? Of course, they will bring various examples after thinking, because you have already given them the pre-reading task. That okay, this is what you have to do, so you will get the examples. Now if you would see, this is how we clarify the concepts. The outcomes, the learning outcomes would be the student who have some misconceptions, they'll be able to speak about it, and then you can correct them in a right manner, in the way that they do not feel intimidated about it. And if they're giving the example, so you can move further from example, that how does it relate to this concept, and many more concepts around it. So that is how we clarify concepts using these kind of art of questioning. I'm stuck somewhere. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So after clarifying concept, the second thing comes in the classroom is probing assumptions. So we use a lot of assumptions, we use a lot of theories, irrespective of what subject we are teaching. So we can ask them that okay, why this particular theory or this assumption is there. So what else could we assume? That is the question which we should ask. Like okay, suppose we are talking about the cultural values in a city. So we can talk about what else we could be assumed. So there could be the traditional attires, which their food, their history, from wherever we get the information. Now understand that we say that education happens in the classroom, but no, education happens outside the classroom also. And that is the most of the things which we carry forward from one generation to another, or from in our own experiences when we are making decisions. So if you are making decisions based on assumptions, that's where we go wrong. And that's where we have to see that if we are making certain assumptions which are important, because everything, there are exceptions and there are assumptions in every field of exploration or in every field of research studies. So what else could be assumed? What would happen if? This is a beautiful question to improve, increase, and to enhance their creativity. Giving them a situation that what would happen if suppose maybe I have a chance to go to Antarctica. Now, if you want to teach geography in that classroom, so just let them explore this, what happens in Antarctica and what all I have to bring and what all I have to prepare. And that way you have a complete lesson done in the classroom situation within 20-25 minutes with the right questions you're asking in the classroom. Now, why is that happening? So there is a phenomena which is going on in physics and chemistry, and maybe we can talk about the nuclear missiles which are there. So what is happening? So if you want to teach physics, chemistry, and biology and the psychology and the repercussions of the war right now, so that is where you can actually integrate. It could be an interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary classroom which can happen, where the students would not be just benefited within your classroom but in the other subjects also. Then what evidence is there to support what you are saying? Important that they should know that there is always a reference point where we see that, okay, this information has come from a credible resource, and they should know which are the credible resources, whether it's a daily news or their research projects in the classroom. And we see that, okay, the research has to be done in the undergrad or the postgrad. No, research can be done in the classroom in the primary years also. And they are the best one to do the research when they go and ask questions to their parents, and the parents are clueless about it. So I've seen that and done that, so that's why I'm saying. And the parents also start learning with them, okay, yes, let's find out what is the evidence about this, what we have been said. So their own beliefs also are challenged, and then they learn in a very non-threatening manner. So you are not challenging the belief of the parents who have been learning this, or they have the assumptions from very long time, but then they also learn with their children. So that is the kind of a ripple effect, I would say, which happens during this kind of a classroom if we introduce in the curriculum. So the next is questioning viewpoints and perspective. So that's a different thing from assumptions, because perspective could be mine, it could be different for you, and from which angle I'm seeing that is also important for me. So you teach actually empathy here when you listen to their different perspectives and who benefits from this. So there's a very famous triple filter test of Socrates, and I think you'll be able to find it on Google somewhere, but that's a very interesting one, and you can use it in the classroom, that whenever a student is bringing any information or any complaint to you, you can actually tell them that is it true or is it right, and is it relevant to me. And if there are no's for this, so yes, that information is not valid for me. So that's called a triple filter test. So whenever your students are giving any information or the gossip is happening around in the classroom or for anybody, so that is where we use that. So now questioning viewpoints and perspectives, who benefits from this, then why is it better than or different from? So if suppose there is a student A and student B, let them have the brainstorming session, and then this could be the guiding questions for them, that why it is better than or different from this. So are we coming to agreement with all the disagreements which are happening in the classroom, and then maybe one of them can actually consolidate the information which is being given in a group discussion also. This is a very, very important way to teach them teamwork, not being loud in the classroom, and putting their viewpoints and perspective also, and respecting other person's perspective also, that whatever information they are bringing to the classroom is up to some extent relevant or true, and we can use that information. And if you research about it, or it's a belief, that is a beautiful question to be asked in the classroom, that have you done your research well? Have you found out that, okay, this information which you are bringing in the classroom, that earth is round or earth is flat? As simple as that. So what is the basis of that information? And this is what is inquiry-based learning, in a very, very non-threatening way, that students actually let them go back to home, and then they try to find out the answers about it. So that's where they are curious, they are inquisitive, and they actually are motivated to learn and to find out the truth about any fact or the concept which has been taught in the classroom. Then probing implications and consequences. Now, how do we do that? So there would be, if suppose I have used certain data in the classroom, I'm taking the classroom, statistics I'm using some research, or I'm teaching any concept. So what are the implications and consequences? So it's a simple thing. Let's say nuclear fission and fusion is taught in the classroom. So what are the implications and consequences of it? What are the pros and cons of it? Now, so if it is mathematics class, or if it is a statistics class, or wherever you're using the data, so does this data make sense? So not every data which is available to us will make sense, but we have to, and that is where the concept of analysis and skills have to be enhanced for the students so that they learn that every data which is being given to you is not the right data, because it is very specific to the age group, the interest group also, and that's where you let them think that, okay, when I'm using this data, let's say I'm using a data on the elderly people and their loneliness, a kind of a project which maybe they're doing. So now if I'm taking the information from their children, do you think that this data will make sense for me? Because I'm not using the primary resource from the elderly people. They may say different things, they may have different issues which they may not say in front of their children, and maybe they have certain ideas which they can share with us. So whatever data we are collecting, from whom we are collecting, that is the question: does this data make sense, and are they desirable? Now when I say desirable, we have to see the big picture. So very simple example for this would be that earlier, before COVID, we were all very strict about that the mobile should not be used in the classroom, or the tabs should not be used, the internet should not be used. But what has happened in the last 2 years is a different thing. That's a different story for all of us, and we gave them that, okay, take my mobile and please study. That is what the parents have been doing. Now, are they desirable? So that desirability, feasibility and viability is something which we have to see of the consequences, that will it make sense or not. Then how do these assertions fit with? And this I'm telling, if you will use this particular kind of flow of questions in your any project in the corporate also, or into any place where you have certain difficulties in dealing with people around you, these are all are going to help you. So how do these assertions fit with? So if suppose I have a plan, I have a convincingly kind of a implication that, okay, this should happen. So somebody will ask me that, okay, how do these assertions fit with? Whether it is fitting or there are certain challenges which we are going to face, that is what. Yeah. So what are the consequences of that assumption? I think somebody is unmuted, so tell me. Mute yourself, please. Sorry. Yeah. So what are the consequences of that assumption? That is again a challenge. So if you are assuming something, so what would be the consequences, the pros and cons? That is what we need to discuss. And the last one here would be questioning the question. Now, if suppose there is a question which I have started discussing in the classroom, so we question itself that, okay, why do you think I asked this question? So if I ask in the class, let's say I'm asking that, okay, the mental health is a kind of, let's say I'm putting in a controversial manner, mental health is a fad, right? And I have a discussion around it with all the flow which I have explained in the earlier slide. So now I'm asking them, why do you think I asked this question? And they'll come out with the answer that, okay, yes, there are misconceptions about it, there are myths which are around it. So your question was wrong. It could be. And as a teacher, as an instructor, I have to accept that. So sometimes bringing the wrong question in the classroom also will help you in getting the right question, so that they know how to frame the right question also. And that's a very beautiful art. If the students learn in every subject how to frame a question, they will find the answers themselves. So that's, just try it out, and maybe you can connect with me and let me know that whether this worked for you or not. Then what does that mean? So if suppose I'm having certain questions or the concept which I'm teaching, so what does it exactly mean? So the wholesome experience of the overall classroom, that, okay, what did we learn about it? So what does it mean now? I have done the pre-reading task. We have discussed in the classroom with the inquiry method. So now, where does it stand? And how do you see it? How do you feel it? How do you look at it? That is what we'll ask. And then maybe somebody will come out with the kind of a consolidated answer for all of us. And will this lead to new learning? So yes, so we are making learning process very smoother, very seamless, so that they learn that, okay, what will this lead to new learning? So if suppose I am teaching something about Earth today, or the Sustainable Development Goals, the new learning would be, what are the challenges which we learn in the classroom and how I can implement in all those the sustainability for the future. So if we are not giving that to the youth, I think somewhere we are lacking as educators, as parents, as citizens of this world. So that is where we have to see that will this lead to new learning in whatever subjects we are doing. So what are the benefits for the teachers? Quickly, create lessons with mixed media. So you can use, so now it does not mean that if you are using a Socrates method of inquiry, the right questions will just serve the purpose. We can actually, I can just take a picture in the classroom and I can actually weave around my whole art of questioning around that to teach any concept. And educators can create lessons with mixed media and gamified elements. You have ample information available, ample resources available. So keep using that. It's just that when you are making the classroom interactive, so how you're going to use the art of questioning, which I'm trying to bring it through this interaction here today. And faster feedback. Teacher can offer instant feedback and guidance. So anytime when you're asking a question, student is answering, always make sure that you are giving them the feedback in a constructive manner. We should not snub. We have to be very careful about the words. So I agree to disagree, or I disagree to agree. These are the ways we can do, and that is what we have to teach them, the art of communication by leading through examples. So if I am loud in class, if I am authoritative in class, I'm sure that I'm not giving the right values to the students who are the youth who are going to be future bosses, future leaders, future teachers, future parents also. So flexible teaching strategies, yes. So if my classroom is not going in the right manner, of course I can use always plan A doesn't work, so have plan B. So that is a benefit for the teachers. They are able to adapt to the learning style of the different student. So the questioning can move in a very different way also. So that we have to be careful about that. How can we bring them back to the questions in the right manner? How tech transforms learning. So enhanced engagement, and this is a proven fact that not a one-way communication which will happen. Students can be more active in their work than think. Student-led learning, because if you give a task to one student, no, it won't work. Let everybody do the research, but ask one student in the classroom to lead the discussion. That's where you are going to teach them some leadership skills also, and you just have to sit at the back and let them do their work, and you will see they are the beautiful teachers in the making. So understand their strengths and weaknesses, and then you can give the feedback. The one who's actually initiated to lead, give them the feedback that, okay, this was the wonderful part of your growth, but then there are certain elements which you could bring into the classroom. So next time you can do that also. So that is what the constructive feedback will do for them. Now, fun, engaging lessons. Subjects that students deem boring can become more interesting, because if you are teaching history, so let them ask 100 questions and let them answer also 100 questions in the classroom, and then you will see the power of Socrates in the query method also. So what's the transformation? Online classrooms means digital learning for everyone, but yes, we need the human connect, and that is what it will do, that they are learning through the art of inquiry, then curious, research-oriented, and better decision-making. These three things will definitely happen to your students if you are using this specific method in the classroom. And students own project-based learning. So next time when you are taking to them classroom, so they will bring that, okay, ma'am, this particular concept can be taught in this manner, so let's have this way. So that is project-based learning. So they decide their own way of project, and then they learn in their own way, and you just have to sit and watch and be a kind of a moderator for them, that if they are going wrong, so that you can help them out. Now, rising demand for skill-based programs. Why it is important? I feel because working in the skills space for a long time now, I feel that the students, they have the education, they have the right information, but they don't know still how to use and convert that into the employability. So the skill-based programs are very, very important. So they should know the art of communication, leadership, questioning, curiosity, motivation, and every critical thinking, problem solving, which we call the 21st century skills. So that is what is going to be in demand whether you are an engineer, doctor, lawyer, fashion designer, corporate, the president or vice president of any company, it doesn't matter. If you don't have the right skill set, definitely you are losing out. Then greater investment on interactive technology in solving the digital divide. With this digital transformation, I mean, no algorithm for sure, I'm emphasizing on that, can change the course of the human interaction which can happen in the classroom. So we as teachers or we as facilitators, that is what is the truth. Technology will never replace great teachers, but in the hands of great teachers, it is transformational. So that is what we all have to do. Implementing the 400 BC philosopher in today's world, which is digital for sure. So now Socrates is asking you a question. Do you have any questions? And I hope we have learned something new and I could do it in time. So these are the two ways you can connect with me. I prefer LinkedIn, and this Instagram is for the students who would love to connect with me there. So yes, so I will stop sharing, or we can have certain questions from anyone who's there. So you're most welcome to ask questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
You have given very interesting information how to teach students through the topic Socrates in 21st century, digital transformation. Now after this wonderful keynote speech, it is the time for discussion session.
Yes.
So if there is any query, any doubt, anybody can put it before Honorable Ma'am for the answer and explanation. Please, participants.
Good evening, Chetna ma'am. This is
Good evening.
Nidhi Sharma here.
Yes, Nidhi.
It's really amazing to implement the methodology of Socrates in regular teaching. I've never thought of it. Never ever. I have read the Socrates, but never thought I will learn about all this. I had never thought of the Socrates present in my class, but now I can feel him. Ma'am,
Please go ahead.
thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful session. I have one query. Sometimes when we use question answer method in our classroom, generally we use the content goes out of hand. How to handle it? Because questions are coming from different directions, and sometimes we are not able to manage the content.
Okay, so the simple method would be that you could actually create a rule in the classroom. Okay, that's what I have done in most of my classroom during my educators school time, that I used to set the rules or the boundaries for that. That is very important because these students are still learning, whether they are in college or they are in school. So we need to set the rules for them that, okay, this is the way we are going to, and still if you have certain things, so maybe they can raise hand or they can use different methods. So you can actually, I used to sometimes keep a kind of maybe a box or something that you can pass on, and the child can actually show in the classroom that, okay, I have a question or something. The discussion may definitely go in different way, and that's where you have to bring it back to the classroom that, okay, yes, you people are fantastic, you people are thinking or going in the right manner, which I planned for all of you, but then I have to discuss this. This is my focus question for today, so let's come back to this. So without snubbing anyone, without telling them, okay, without intimidating anyone, respecting that, okay, this is what you have to do, and then maybe you can also do this, that the students have lot many questions, because there would always be a student who is actually very curious and he'll try to impress you with the questions. So you can tell them, give me the list of questions, give it to me, and I'll answer that in the next session, or if it is relevant, because we cannot, if I'm teaching 40 to 70 students, so I cannot just cater to one student. I have to take care that every student is given importance in the classroom. So make sure that we are not catering to one student every time, and giving chance to others also in a very different manner, that, okay, yes, that's what, so you can actually throw a ball in the classroom that, okay, who will catch? He has to ask me a question today. Any method, that is on you, and that's where you will see the students would be, they can duck the question, they can duck the ball also, that, okay, I'm not catching it, but yes, then you can use every time, surprise them, sometime shock them also, that, okay, because I've used this method in the classroom, that I wrote something different words. So that way their vocabulary was improving. So maybe some name of, let's say, a mathematician or a psychologist. So that's what. So, and then they will go and research back. So that's what. So that was the kind of a pre-reading task which I used to give them for the follow-up lesson in the next on the next day. So they knew that okay, this is what is going to happen. So you have the power that way for sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Most welcome. Yes. Anybody else have a question?
Ma'am, there is one question in the chat box.
Okay. Yes. How to change mentality of students? Technology improving who are from rural. Okay. I would suggest that if they are coming from a rural background, so please make sure that you have one-to-one interaction with those students, or maybe the set of students, to understand that what are their challenges. First, because we have to understand the whole socio-cultural context of the child, from where he's coming and from where. So what are the challenges? And then you can have a peer group learning also. So if a student doesn't know how to use a mobile, how not use a tab, let other children help him out. That way you are creating teamwork and collaboration also in the classroom. And also they become empathetic that, okay, this is not possible for everybody to learn. And social projects in any subject should be brought in the classroom for sure, which is a must for all of us as educators or as the responsible citizen. That if I'm teaching any subject, be it maths, be it social science, be it physics, chemistry, biology, some kind of a social project should be discussed in the classroom, and your whole curriculum can actually work around that. That's what I suggest. Yes. So any other question? I hope I've been able to answer your question. Hema Malini ji. Love your name. Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Wonderful session. Nice information. Send me feedback form. Sir, please, Bhagyavan ji, give me a good feedback. Requesting you. Okay. So any other question?
Thank you, Nidhi ma'am and Hema Malini ma'am, for your questions. And thank you, honorable keynote speaker, for your answers and explanations. Today we have got very different interesting method to teach students. And now after this keynote speech and discussion session, it is time for all of us to listen Chief Organizer and Chairperson of webinar series, Honorable Principal Dr. Bedkar sir. I invite you for the concluding words. Please.
Thank you, Professor Karan sir. It's not so good to give remark because I'm some out of station with my grandson. So thank you, madam, for your best job and also for the best explanation about the digital transformation. So that we can learn, students can learn. So sorry madam, I could not explain more, but thank you for you because you have contributed here with have issued so many awards and with the best experience of this teaching field. Thank you from us for joining here as a resource person, and thank you, and also congratulations for you for sending an article in our book. It will be published on 8th March. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. And I would love to say one thing about Dr. Bedkar. He's been so patient, so polite, and so wonderful in keeping up with me that, okay, whenever I've asked certain questions that, okay, how it could be possible for me to do so. So he has been very patient, and I think it's a humongous task on behalf of you and the team which is there. So thank you so much for having me. And I hope there would be more women joining here, and you would reach your target of 1,000 and maybe 100,000 women for sure. So thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you, madam.
Ma'am, now I am here for vote of thanks.
Yes, please.
I am sincerely thankful to you because you have accepted the invitation of our college and graced us with a wonderful lecture on the topic, through which we have got lot of information, and you have spared your precious time. So on behalf of the organizing committee and Shri Kumarswami College, Ausa. I sincerely thank you, and I thank you for your appreciation of our webinar series. Thank you very much, ma'am. I also thank Honorable Chief Organizer and Chairperson of this webinar series, because he is going on this webinar series successfully. So thank you, sir. I also thank all the participants for their regular attendance and active participation in webinar series. So thank you, participants. I also thank Dr. Anita Dhole ma'am, who has given very good introduction of today's honorable keynote speaker. And now I request all the participants to fill feedback form so that they can have their certificates. And at the end, with the permission of Chief Organizer and Chairperson, I declare here that today's webinar is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now you can
Thank you.
have rest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Wonderful session, ma'am. Thank you.
I would be sharing the presentation with Dr. Bedkar, and he can pass on to every one of you, those who are asking in the chat. So my resources are mostly open resources. Use them, spoil them, explore them, exploit them. That is what I would say. But make sure that you are making the classrooms interactive with the students empowered. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
take
Yes,
your-
yes, ma'am. I will share to all participants, those who are willing to receive. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, sure. Okay.